What is gray water?
Milk! It does my roots good.
Should you water your plants with pasta water?
That sounds like solving your problem of low ceilings by cutting off your head.
You have all three of the fun colors.
So what you want to do is you want to put it in front of the window and then you want to get like some gossamer lace curtain.
Don't milk your plants. There's a sound clip. Welcome back to the Helpful Gardeners podcast. Well, Colin, this week we're talking about internet trends. There's been a lot of trends on the internet about plant care.
Yep.
This isn't like Tide Pod Challenge or anything, but it's interesting the kinds of tips that you'll find online. And I think what a lot of people can get into is like taking those tips and just running with them and not really seeing the other side, the scientific side, to see if it's actually a good thing to do, right? So today I wanted to dive into some of the more popular internet plant hacks and then also dive into some of the plant care that you can be doing in the wintertime, right?
Especially, it's not fun outside right now.
No, and that's why we love working in a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Because we get a little bit of happiness, and I love that we're pet friendly because the pets can get on it too.
Go visit your local greenhouse. You'll be surprised. Golden Acre, we see people frequently who come in and they're not shopping. They just want to... We have fountains running. There's birdsong. There's green plants to sit amongst. There's... People will leave you alone or they will talk to you about plants. So if you need a break, find your local greenhouse. They'll probably welcome you to just come in and have a wander.
Well, that's it for today's podcast. No, just kidding.
Let's go sit downstairs.
Yeah, exactly. No, let's start off with the first one because this is the one that started it all for me. Should you water your plants with pasta water?
I've heard of that. So the two that I've heard of are pasta water and sparkling water.
Oh, I didn't even hear about sparkling water.
Apparently sparkling water is better for your plants.
Oh.
I've never done either.
Yeah.
Now, that's not entirely true. I have used pasta water, but I didn't use pasta water because it's pasta water. I used pasta water because we had a water ban and it's gray water.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah, so I didn't use it to monitor was there more growth, was there a benefit from the carbohydrates that increased the size of my yield.
Yeah.
I used it because we made pasta for supper and that is good water and my plants needed water.
Hey, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, that's very interesting take on it is the gray water.
Yeah.
What is gray water?
Gray water is so there's three waters.
Okay,
probably more, but there's three basic categories when we're talking about this. There's black water, gray water, clean water.
Okay.
Clean water is anything from the tap, the rain barrel. Mm-hmm. Then you have gray water. Gray water is after you've done the dishes, boiled pasta, had a bath or a shower.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's nothing in there that's going to hurt the plants. It's just not clean water. Mm-hmm. Okay, if you've washed dishes in the sink and there's food stuff, strain them out, that kind of idea. Then there is black water. Black water, do not use. That's water that's contaminated by oil or gasoline or something like that. Something that will have a detrimental effect.
interesting.
So those are the three types of water.
Okay.
And when we had the water ban last year, I bought one of those big water cooler jugs for my plants. I used gray water and we gathered rainwater.
Nice.
So those were our methods to keeping our plants going.
Oh, gosh. That's going to be a time we tell our future generations, hey? Remember that one time about the water main?
Old-timey.
Right? But this is where I first saw it was on Instagram, which I think this actually originated on TikTok. Who knows anymore, you know? This was the video. So pour in a glass jar and let it cool down. Pour into your plants. Seems easy. Pasta water full of zinc and other nutrients. A lot of people were talking about the starches that's in pasta leaching into the water, which is what makes it all cloudy. But what's interesting is, they suggested, and I think this is where a lot of people are getting a little bit like where the divide happens is how it needs to, like, the salt content. Right? Because if it's heavily salted, which that's what we do. Do you salt your water?
Not when I was using it for gray water.
Okay, so that's exactly it. Because what can salt do to plants?
You've heard of salting the earth.
No. Oh, yes.
Salting the earth is like
Is it salting the earth?
Salting.
Why did I think it was salt of the earth?
Because, okay,
Is that another one?
Yeah, salt of the earth is somebody who is an upstanding character.
Yeah.
Okay, salting the earth is a war tactic.
Oh.
So you come and then you basically salt, which doesn't have to be salt. You can also use oil and gasoline and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it prevents any plants there from ever growing.
Okay.
So you contaminate the soil.
Okay.
Yeah. With that being said, though, a lot of fertilizers, a lot of nutrients, they have salts in them. So a lot of plants, potassium and whatnot, they take up the salts.
Right.
So there's good and bad. Adding excess salt will absolutely cause problems to your roots. You shouldn't do it. So we had pasta Monday night. Okay. I absolutely salted the water.
Yeah.
Heard something one time. If anybody knows who it was, please tell me. Jenny would know. And it was a chef, and they were saying when you're making pasta, your water should be as salty as the Mediterranean.
Oh my God.
I don't go that excessive, but I absolutely salt my water. When the water ban was happening, I did not because I wanted to use that. So I'm like, did it affect the flavor? Not enough that you'd notice.
Right.
Add some salt at the table.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so absolutely. So if you're
Now there's probably some pasta connoisseur watching this going, you're wrong. Pasta is better than plants.
But I can't imagine, like, if you're watching that video, right? Thank goodness they actually talked about the salt.
Yep.
But if they hadn't, say somebody did like a spin-off of that video and then didn't talk about the salt content, and then you went to go water your plants with your salted pasta water.
Especially in your houseplants.
Yeah.
Because in your ground plants, it's not going to be great, but the amount of salt you're probably putting in your pasta water,
Yeah.
some of it is going to adhere to the pasta. Most of it is not going to, it doesn't dissolve, it's a rock.
Right.
But when you pour it into the bed, for how much is in there, how much you dilute it into the watering can, if you're going to be adding water, it's probably not going to, if every single time you water, that's what you're doing, maybe you should think about how much pasta you're eating.
Never.
Never.
Are you kidding?
You watch your mouth. But if every single time you water, you're putting table salt on your outdoor plants, it's not going to be great.
Right.
Once in a while, because there is unlimited drainage, you're going to be watering more frequently. Rainwater, I don't really think it would be that much of a 911. There's plenty of stuff we do as people that isn't always very healthy for us. If you do it once in a while, it's not going to cause a huge problem. You smoke a cigar when you're on vacation once, Yeah. There's not going to be any doctor that's like, I like that, but they're probably not going to give you a lecture about it. You're smoking 5 Havanas a day. Your doctor's probably like, we need to have a talk.
You know what I used to do as a kid? I used to love the smell of exhaust. So I would like purposefully stand behind my mom's minivan and just like smell it. And I am shocked I don't have problems. Like, honestly.
You don't think you have problems? I'm just saying this is answering a lot of questions for me.
Next week on the Helpful Gardeners podcast. I'm just kidding. No,
I love the smell of gasoline.
Yeah. What is up with that?
Like when you're pumping the gas.
It's not good for us. And yet...
I'm not a glue sniffer or anything, but I love the smell of solvents. I really do. I love okay, one of the best smells for me personally. Fresh paint.
Oh yeah.
You walk into
is up
a
with
room.
That?
You walk. It smells clean.
Yeah.
There's something. I love painting.
Yeah.
So there's weird things, but yeah, if you're like, oh yeah, I like the smell of that, no problem. But if you're like, I like it so much, I'm going to close the garage and run the minivan. We have a big problem.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing, right? Little bit of salt in your pasta water, diluted in your watering can. You water it. You do it once every 2 weeks. Not going to be the end of the world. You're putting a box of table salt every day on your plants. You got a major problem.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But they're talking about houseplants. They were showing it. Absolutely. Just don't use the salt.
Yeah. But it was interesting how some people were trying it, when they do it the right way. One expressed shock about their Fiddle Leaf Fig sprouting several jumbo-sized leaves in under a month. Now, I know there's a lot of factors that go into new growth, the time of year, how much sunlight they're getting, if you added new soil, like there could have been a number of different things that could have gone on with that Fiddle Leaf Fig.
How many times do people, for want of a better word, neglect the house plants, right? The house plant... it's doing great. if it ain't broke, don't touch it. But that soil is completely depleted of any nutrients. You pour that in, and it's got starches and carbohydrates and zinc and calcium and a bunch of other stuff. And the plant suddenly gets a flush of growth.
Yep.
It could be something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Where it's been depleted for so long. That water isn't so much magical. It would be interesting to see if you had 2 fiddle leaf, the same thing. You've had one with pasta water and another one with a specific fertilizer. Would you see an equivalent?
Interesting.
Is the plant depleted? Did that person take really good care of the plant? Like you said, there are so many factors. Like that is it's one of those stats that you can say to twist it however you want to twist it.
Well, and
right?
the other thing too is like, say you are fertilizing your plant at the same time, and then you add the starchy water in it, and it's introducing things like zinc, calcium, phosphorus, iron, potassium, like the things that you would normally find in fertilizer. Are you then over fertilizing your plant?
You could, absolutely, but I mean, the counts are probably so low in pasta water. You probably are adding them, but I don't think it's going to be like 20% calcium. It's probably like 0.01.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the count will be so low. Again, if you're doing it every watering, problem. Adding it once in a while after you've had your pasta, sure. And I've actually always wanted to try the sparkling water hack.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Apparently it's better because it's oxygenated.
Oh, interesting.
And it can help the plants uptake it better and more evenly. My plants are all doing fine, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Like, I've always been curious. Maybe one day when I've got some spider plants, maybe I'll do one with regular water, one with sparkling water as one of my fun tests, and see if I notice a difference.
Yeah, just to see, for fun. Speaking of using leftover things on your plants, there's like people who will say use coffee grounds on your plants, but I've always wondered about using like leftover coffee. Like, say I had a little bit in my cup. Can you put that in a plant? Like, would that be the similar idea?
Yeah.
But then again, you have like cream and that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. Well,
right?
you drink your coffee black.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, me too. So I've absolutely done it before where, like, I've got my mug, there's this much coffee in the bottom, and I'm like, there you go. Good nitrogen. I absolutely know a hack. I think it was my grandparent, my granny and granda, who taught me this. And they used to, English, a lot of tea, big tea drinkers. They used to reuse their tea bags for plant fertilizer because it was high in nitrogen.
So they would just steep more water and then put that on
So they would make their tea. They would take the tea leaves out. They didn't use tea bags all the time. They were old school. And then they would reuse the tea to make a much weaker, and then they would use that to water their plants because obviously during the war, which they lived through, World War II, fertilizer was all used for crops and everything was rationed. So that was how they figured that they could still get their plants good stuff. So absolutely there is a way of using your regular, English tea to feed your plants with a little bit of a nitrogen boost.
Neat.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is using up things that you already have that you may be just tossing away already. But what would you say if I told you that people were using milk on their plants?
Oh, I would say no.
You know what Eduardo said? Eduardo was like, "What? Who is rich enough that they can do that?"
I use plant-based milk. I wouldn't even pour it on.
I know milk's expensive.
And what do you do for a treat? Give it like a heavy cream? Like putting on dollops of whipping cream?
And so I was like, "Are you kidding?" So, and this is. There is a lot of division for this. I mean, there even is a section of the internet dedicated to this as a cure for powdery mildew.
Okay,
So here's the thing. So people were saying that it's like a source of calcium, that, it could potentially help to prevent blossom end rot. Like even like it goes as far as that. But what's interesting is like, there's a lot of variation on how much you should use, right? There's some people that are saying it's a 1-to-1. So you have to dilute it with water. You can't just be pouring milk on your plant.
That calms me down a smidge.
Yeah. So it's always diluted. However, there's some people that say it's 50-50. There's some people that say it's 3/4 to 1/4. So it's like 1/4 cup milk, 3/4 cup water. Some people even say that you should apply it in sunlight to activate the protein. Like I just feel like this one's a little far-fetched.
Don't put milk on your plant. That's my takeaway from it.
Well, I knew you'd say this too. And it even goes as far as like what type of milk.
Oh.
So they say that you should use either 2% or 1%. If you use any of the other ones, it like won't work.
Well, just dilute it more, apparently.
I don't know. I don't get it. So this is the reason why they say milk is good. They say it because it has antifungal properties. So that's why they're saying that it would be good as an antifungal for a powdery mildew.
I've seen milk go bad.
I know.
Like, if the milk is sitting there and it's curdling and rotting, like... Okay, so back in the day in Montreal, kudos to them. Very forward thinking. I was fully inspired. It made my job harder as a landscaper. But Montreal banned all herbicides and pesticides.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And amongst that was the treatment for powdery mildew.
Oh.
Because it was a chemical spray.
Okay.
So this is pre-internet. So we did some research, myself and Simon, and we did some research, and we found a home remedy to cure powdery mildew. Okay, the dilution of milk was 0 because there was no milk in it.
I was like, this close to being like, please tell me you used milk.
It was Scope mouthwash, baking powder, dish soap, and I believe water. I think those were the only 4 ingredients. There may have been a 5th that I'm not remembering. It's been a long time. Those 4 definitely. I can't remember what the ratios were now.
Yeah.
A tablespoon of soap, a quarter cup of Scope, whatever it was. And you mixed it all together, added the water, and you sprayed that on the plants. It worked. It worked. Not as good as the revolutionary sprays out there, but it absolutely could. So Montreal, very humid.
Right.
Roses, very prone to it. We had a lot of people who loved their rose gardens. So we treat them early, right away. Yeah, we'd see signs of powdery mildew, but it wouldn't be ripped through the entire bed, infesting the plant. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Like I know, I read
all we had to do was just milk a cow onto the roses. Hello there, just milking the cow.
You know what's interesting is I actually read an article, like a scientific journal, where they tried this on zucchini plants, and the leaves were just covered in powdery mildew, and they were like, this did not help.
There's no part of me that believes, like I said before you even finish, don't use milk on plants. So
this is what they said. They said, okay, so the one recipe that I saw on the internet, they said use 2% or 1% milk, 50-50 mix into a spray bottle with water, apply to the leaves and let dry. Check back in 30 minutes. If they're still liquid, gently wipe down the leaves with a wet cloth because obviously it'll start to smell bad.
So they're saying to use it as a foliar spray.
So yes, exactly. They use that word too. Yeah. They said, but if you use too much milk, it'll destroy the plant as the bacteria in milk can stunt growth and cause wilt. The fat in whole milk can cause a foul odor, while skim milk could lead to black rot, soft rot, or the little like brown rot.
That sounds like solving your problem of low ceilings by cutting off your head. Like,
I'm sure somebody out there is probably like, I tried this and it works.
I mean...
it seems like a lot more worry than it's worth.
It also sounds like it would be a great way to encourage pests.
Oh, that's a good point too, yeah.
Like, there is no part of this, like, no. I'm not.
You've heard it. No for the milk, okay?
And if anybody has tried it, please know that I am open-minded and I would love to hear more about it, but I'm still not going to do it.
Yeah, I would actually encourage anyone who's tried milk to reach out and tell us exactly how you did it and why it works.
Just picturing like Monsteras with a milk mustache. Milk! It does my roots good.
Well, let's go back to water.
Okay.
Because water's safe.
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
Okay, good with safe water. Okay, so here's another one. Using ice cubes to water your plants. I have done this, but I don't really know if it works. Someone on the internet, when I was looking this up, they were mentioning that it wouldn't be good because it introduces a cold to the plant. And plants, obviously, we know houseplants don't like to be cold.
Yeah.
So what is your take on the ice cubes?
if you're worried about your plant getting cold, how much ice are you adding?
That's true.
Okay,
just a whole bucket.
Exactly, because then you're overwatering anyway. So again,
Yeah.
there's a whole other bunch of complications. I've seen that mentioned before as a hack to do delayed watering of your plants.
Yep.
That ice cube's going to be melted in an hour.
True enough.
How much did you delay anything?
That's true.
And if your house is warm enough, as it's slowly melting, X%, I'm not going to figure out the math because everybody's house heat's different, ice cube sizes is different, and I'm not very good at math. You will lose a significant amount to evaporation.
True enough, yeah.
So throw 3 ice cubes onto a big, 2-gallon pot. You're probably not going to hurt the plant because by the time it's melted, it has to be above zero, so it's not really going to be freezing. By the time it gets through the soil to the roots, it will have warmed up again. At the end of it, probably not going to be much colder than water blasted out of your tap in the middle of winter. I'm not too worried about the cold. Yeah, if you're adding an excessive amount, I just don't see it as any feasible hack. It just sounds like it sounds like adding 6 extra steps to water your plant that isn't bringing any benefit.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like this one is like if you say had like a cold drink that you, or like a cold, I don't know, pina colada, and you, okay, that doesn't have ice in it. Iced tea.
And it has milk.
Oh, yeah.
All the drinks you
Milk bad. Milk bad. No, say you had like an iced water, I guess. Say you were done drinking your water and there was still a whole bunch of ice and you were like, I don't want this anymore. You could just put it on your plant, but it's not going to cause harm. But it's like if you're intentionally using a whole bunch of ice cubes hoping to get a certain result, then it might not be what you're looking for.
don't. I mean, I've absolutely done that. I've walked by a plant and put ice cubes on it, poured them out in my glass.
Yes, exactly.
Especially in the summer outside. Mm-hmm. Okay, I mean, I think everybody's done that where you've had a drink, water, alcohol, whatever. You finish your drink, there's ice, and you just toss it on the lawn.
Yeah.
Right? You know, it'll be dry in 10 minutes. So pour that on the plant, sure. You're not going to do any harm. The water is going to be so minute, you're not going to run the risk of overwatering. But now I got to pour the ice in the tray. I got to put it in the freezer. I got to wait for it to freeze. Then I got to take it out of the tray. Then I got to go to my plant and put on a certain amount of ice cubes. The amount of time it took to do that, I could have just filled up my watering can and watered my plant.
Yeah.
I don't see any benefit. Harmful, no. Depending on excess, but I would also advise against overwatering. It seems like an awful lot of work for not much.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about another way of watering plants that might be. Would it change the effect on your plant? So what about watering plants with pure water? You mentioned during the water main, you had watered with filtered water. And obviously in Calgary, we have hard water. And so depending on where you live, obviously, would that have an effect? So say you want to use like the filtered water out of your fridge to water your plants. Is that better than the water in your sink? It is.
Yeah, 100%. So it's commonly recommended, especially, let's go back to the Fiddle Leaf Fig. A lot of times people will ask us about the brown edge on their Fiddle Leaf Figs. Apparently that is caused, especially here in Calgary, the amount of heavy salts in our water, because it is very hard water, and we pour that in, and the plant uptakes the tiny particles and they go into the leaves. That's where everything works, and that's what causes the brown crispy edges. If you want to avoid that, they recommend using distilled water. And somebody told me that, and they were like, because I was like, how do I prevent that? And it was actually a member of staff here, a guy, you might remember him, a guy who used to work here, oh boy, a number of years ago, Keith.
Yeah.
And Keith was like, you're going to get a Fiddle Leaf Fig? I was like, yeah, I am. And we're talking about it, and he was, I love Keith, but he's like, so what you want to do is you want to put it in front of the window, and then you want to get like some gossamer lace curtains, and you want to put them there so it gets filtered light, and then you want to use distilled water. And I was like, how about I'm going to buy it and do none of that? I was like, it'll get the light that it gets. It will do fine. And it will drink what everybody else drinks. And if it gets a little bit of brown crispiness on the edges, I can live with that.
You go, plant dad.
Yeah, exactly. Normalize brown leaves. And that is like such a plant dad. Yeah, everybody gets the same.
Yeah, everyone gets the same.
Yeah.
But what if you use snow? Because snow would also be kind of like, so say, like if you don't have like a Brita filter or a filter in your fridge, could you use snow? Because snow sort of purified, right?
Snow is dirty.
Snow is dirty.
Yeah.
Snow is black water?
No, it's gray water.
Gray
That's
water.
why it's on our yard. But if you don't need to introduce it, again, so snow would be like putting excess ice. Think of it like an ice cube. The amount of snow you'd have to put on, because if you take, you fill this cup full of snow, and then you let it melt, the water goes to here.
Yeah.
Because snow is bigger, snowflakes are bigger, right? So you're not getting the same amount of water. Packing your houseplant full of snow will chill the roots.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah,
No.
and snow, a lot of pollution particles stick to snowflakes. So snow, again, outside in our gardens, it's fine because it drains through. Introducing that into your houseplants, you have a 911 situation, water main break happens in the winter. There's snow, you gather the snow, shovel it off your deck, that's clean, melt it, use it for your plants. Absolutely. It is better than nothing, but it is literally just that.
But avoid the dog spots.
Yeah, exactly.
Where the dog's gone, you don't want that water.
That's right. And I wouldn't even scrape it off my walk if you've put ice melt down
True
or
enough.
anything.
That's another salt thing. Yeah.
So I would take it off like my deck. My deck gets no treatment. I shovel it occasionally, but I don't put ice melt on my deck.
Yeah.
So if I had to, I would take it off there, but I wouldn't use snow.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, that kind of wraps up this section. So let's talk about things that you should do.
I would love it right now if you brought out like a 2-liter thing of milk.
We've learned nothing.
So we're talking about milk and snow. What about ice cream?
So here's something you can put on your leaves.
What about sorbet?
I love sorbet.
Sorbet's so good.
Sorbet's so good. But here's something you can put on your leaves. This is sort of like a neem oil mixture.
I love that.
It's called Plant Elixir by Maya
Growing Mediums.
Oh, okay. I was like, GM. I'm like, I know this.
Yeah,
okay,
they're out of. Oh my God. They're not going to beat me up because they're way too sweet, but they're North or West Van. I think it's North Van.
Okay, yeah. So Canadian product, and this is really great because something that we may forget to do. Like most of the year, we forget about our houseplants, but in the wintertime, it's all we're really looking at. Yep. And they might develop a lot of dust. So this is a really good product that you can put on the leaves.
The plants look so good, too.
Oh my gosh, they do.
And I actually love the smell of that. Have you smelled it?
No.
Oh my God.
Can I smell it?
Yeah. I love the smell of it.
Whoa.
So good.
It smells like peppermint.
Yeah, there's something to it.
Oh, that's nice.
And I did, I haven't done it yet this year. I do have to. I did all of my plants last year. Oh boy, they looked sharp. And it's so good. So not only is there an aesthetic pleasantness to it, smell, and the plants looking so good, it really benefits the plants.
Yeah.
It really, because you're cleaning off that sheen of dust, so now they can photosynthesize better. Especially if you don't have grow lights. We're a huge fan of them, but if you don't have grow lights, a plant needs all the light it can get. That film of dust is inhibiting photosynthesis. Get rid of it, shine it up, clean out the stomata. Your plant will love you for it. I love that stuff.
You know, and that's another thing. So if you don't want to use neem oil, ooh.
That was a good sound.
We do have from Mossify these microfiber gloves. They look like something for like the tub, you know, like a little spa night, but this is a spa for your plants. And same kind of thing. You're just putting on the glove and you're just wiping away the dust. So you don't have to get all wet if you want them glossy.
They actually, so they're machine washable.
Oh, nice. Bonus.
And they actually do work well with neem oil.
Oh, what?
So I didn't use them. Guilty as charged. I do have a pair. But neem oil, I used paper towel.
Okay, yeah.
And then I put the paper towel in the compost. But those, one size fits most.
Yeah.
They also come in blue and pink.
Nice.
So we got lots of fun colors. Well, 3. That's not a lot.
We have all 3 of the fun colors.
And they're great because the thing is with the paper towel. So I'm spraying the neem oil on, okay, and it's running down the leaf. So I'm lifting the leaf, and then I'm polishing it, and then I'm doing, and then I'm spraying. Where those, I've got them on, so I'm spraying and wiping at the same time.
Oh.
And then you ever clean your phone screen? You don't always spray directly on the screen. Sometimes you spray on the cloth.
Yeah.
Same thing, you can spray it all over the glove and shine them up. They also work great just with water, if you want to just use water to wash your plants off. Do you ever find if you're doing a paper towel on something like that, sometimes you lose your sense of touch?
Yeah.
Like you're not sure if you're doing it hard enough or too soft or whatever. With that, you maintain it, so you know how hard you're wiping it, and you've got much more tactile control.
Oh my gosh. All that in a pair of gloves.
I know.
Right?
And they keep your hands warm. And you look stylish. It's just so much winning.
You just touched on this briefly, the plant light. And I know we've talked about this before on the podcast, but obviously plant lights in the wintertime are really beneficial with we're starting to get more daylight now. However, it's still like not a lot for our plants to thrive. So what would you say about plant lights for including them on your plant?
Get them.
Get them, yeah.
They are so affordable right now. They're gonna, like a light like this, 30 or 40 bucks, and it's literally gonna last you 10 years.
Yeah.
Like there's so much inherent value. There's so many different ways. They make great gifts. Okay, you've been in my office. I have currently 7 plant lights in my office. And I was looking, I was like, hey, you know what? I need another one.
Oh my gosh, you're kidding. Where are you going to put it?
So you know where the one is under my cupboards with all my files? Well, there's one part of the cupboard that doesn't have it. That would hold a 2-foot one. Great. And then I could put some more plants on that. Because that part's a little bit dark now.
Yeah.
And I do have more plants. So I was thinking, if I just put up a little 2-foot light. And here's the thing, it connects into the other light, so I wouldn't even have to run another plug.
Oh, see.
So I even have a connector.
There you go. And this one's really nice too, because you can just put it on a pot. So if you only have if you have one in a really dark corner that you're like, I don't want to move it, it's really big, then you can just include this one and just have it on its own thing.
They're also really great too. And this is an aesthetic thing, but, plants are an aesthetic thing. They look really great on a desk.
Oh, they do. Yeah.
Right? A lot of people want to plant in their office, but then they worry, well, I'm so far away from the window, and then new windows, so they filter UV, et cetera, et cetera. One of those. Yeah. Very low power drain, so you don't have to worry about anything. Looks nice and sharp on your desk. Your plant loves it. Away you go.
Love it.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. Okay, next up. Plant support. You have to support your plants in the wintertime.
Go plant. Go plant.
And these ones are cool. They're like moss poles, and these are bendable, which is nice because I feel like some poles are just so like rigid and straight, which you need that. But what if you have a plant that's just finding its own way in your house,
exactly.
Right?
It's doing its thing.
It's just let it do its thing.
Yeah.
And so this one's really cool. I also you were mentioning plant staples.
Yeah, floral pins.
Floral pins.
Yeah, same thing, but it's about that long, just a U, pointy at the ends, and you run your pothos or your Monstera up there, and you just poke it in, and it holds it in place. But the good thing about bendy ones, too, is, say you've got a pothos, okay, and it's hanging down, but you want to give it more structure, you can put them in the pot and bend them down.
Oh.
And then, so now your pothos it doesn't come out the pot and go straight down. Now it's actually forming a canopy.
You can give it character.
Yeah. So you can have a lot of fun with those. And like you said, you can bend them in different ways so you can support different branches. Now the branch is starting to straighten, like maybe somebody's amaryllis that didn't get moved and was too close to the light and had to be propped against a TV. I'm just saying that could happen.
That would never happen.
Yeah, maybe if you'd watered it with milk, you would have given it more strength to its bones. But those work really great because as the plant straightens itself up, you can just bend the pole and you can keep bending it and you're not going to be shocking the plant as much. So I love these. And they add another aesthetic. They look natural. They're not just like a hard bamboo.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, it just looks really nice. Yeah. Like, it looks really like outdoorsy.
Oh, and I think, they show some of the shapes on the back.
Yeah.
So, these are a lot of fun. And again, from our friends at Mossify.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Mossify brings out garden shears. So now might be a good time you want to do some pruning.
Yep.
right? And these are great. Like, I feel like we talked about this already where, it's nice to have your outside pruners, but not a lot of people think to have their inside pruners. My pruners are currently in the shed outside. At least I brought them inside somewhere. And I don't have anything for inside. So when I'm doing stuff like cut flowers or pruning my plants, like I don't have anything, so really having something like this is nice.
Are you reaching for like, because I'm absolutely guilty of this, the reach for the kitchen scissors or a knife
all the time.
or something. Yeah, and having the pruners, they're just better. So the pruners, I'll touch on this because I don't think we've ever mentioned this. The biggest difference is you see the anvil down here, the flat part.
Yeah.
So when you use scissors to cut your plant, they absolutely work. Of course they do. I've done it. You've done it. Most people will have done it. But when you cut, the scissors squash.
Oh my gosh, the whole plant wall.
Exactly. So it crushes as it cuts.
Yeah.
Now, we don't really see it because it is microscopic and then the blade goes through, but they crush. Where with these, this rolls the plant as the blade comes on. So the plant, we'll say a pothos again because I just cut one recently to propagate it. And as you cut, it rolls that round stem just ever so slightly. It might only be a quarter, eighth, half a turn, but it's rolling it, and then the blade is cutting at the same time. So it's not a crushing impact, it's a rolling cut.
Oh my gosh.
So you get a cleaner, healthier cut for your plant. Now, that's not really going to apply to the end that you stick in water because roots are going to come out of that. You're going to stick it in the ground. Who cares? But the end that's remained to your plant that you're cutting off of, it can go black. It's damaged. It's damaged cells.
I've seen that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, and that's normally because we've cut it with scissors. So the best things to use are this, or even a sharp knife and your thumb. Please don't do that if you haven't done it before. I used to do it gardening, and yes, I have cut my thumb.
Yeah.
So a nice sharp knife, and you kind of just roll it through. That works because it's only one blade going through as opposed to the crushing of the scissors.
Love it. The last thing we want to talk about is top dressing. I was doing a little look-see around my houseplants lately, and I'm like, wow, the soil just is not looking as light and fluffy, and it's really packed down, and I feel like our plants can do a little better. Like they deserve a little bit of a top dress. And so we were downstairs grabbing things in the greenhouse, and you were mentioning how worm castings can be a good top dress.
Yeah, they are amazing.
We have the worm castings in its casting form.
Yep.
And then we also have this liquid extract if you don't want to, I would assume for us like a fertilizer.
Yeah, so it's not a fertilizer. It's a supplement.
Oh, supplement.
So all that is when they take the worm castings out of the tub.
Yeah.
We still have to go visit our friends at Annalita. We've got an open invite. We would visit if they were closer. We're not just bad neighbors. They're like a 3-hour drive away. That's why we haven't visited them. But we love you, Annalita. So when they lift the worm castings out, the worm castings are wet. There's no actual worms in them. They keep the worms because they're making the castings. The worm castings are wet. And they press them, and all of the juices that run out, they gather, and hey presto, you have worm casting extract. So if you have a plant, and some of my plants are exactly like this, where I've got maybe a ½ inch, quarter inch of room. Sometimes I water and it pours over the edge.
Wow.
Right? Because my soil is that close to the top. So maybe you can't top dress because you're going to raise your level again too much. That's where you want to go with this. I love it. I use it. I have a bottle of this at my house. Absolutely. This is the best.
Yeah.
This is the best. It can't be beat. This is going to break down slower as you water. It's going to sink into the soil, so it's going to enrich it all the way through. It's going to last longer. You're not going to do any harm by raising your soil level 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch. Yeah, I might not go that high on some plants. Most houseplants will be okay. Just don't go right around the base. And water accordingly. You cannot beat it.
No, and it's OMRI listed, so it's organic.
Yep.
And you literally just like put it right on top. You don't have to mix it in. You don't have to do anything. So it's so easy.
Okay, so you're one of your houseplants.
Yeah.
You've noticed the soil isn't looking great, but the plant doesn't need to be transplanted.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like, and we've talked about this. Every time you transplant a plant, you're shocking it. Okay, you are absolutely going to do some damage. You're pulling the roots, you're moving stuff. The plant doesn't really like it. Some can take it better than others, but it's not going to be a fan. So you're disturbing and running the risk of damaging your plant to add good stuff, but the plant was doing okay before that. Top dress. And it'll work its way in. Then you're not running the risk of damaging the plant. Then you can say, no, I'm not doing it because I'm lazy. I'm doing it because it's better for the plant.
I love this.
Yeah.
And they even say on the back, like 4 potted plants.
Yep.
And they'll give you all the directions on like, they even go into like for every 12 inch of potted plant, top dress with half cup of castings.
There
like,
you go.
They make it so easy, right? And then what's great about it is that, you might look at a bag like this and you're like, I only have a couple plants. Like I'm only going to use maybe this much this winter. Well, it says that you can use it for transplanting shrubs and trees. You can use it on your lawn as a top dress. Like this is useful.
There's nothing I plant indoors or outdoors that doesn't have worm castings. Worm castings, volcanic dust, and charcoal.
Yeah.
Guarantee. Other stuff as well. Depending on where I'm planting, it'll be compost or cocoa coir. There's other mediums, perlite, that I'll bring into it. But a good potting soil enriched with volcanic and worm castings, I'm a happy guy.
This is it. And it's also safe for your children and pets.
Yep.
So if that's something that you're worried about in your home, then this is safe.
There's nothing wrong. And that worm casting extract it's liquid gold. It really is. It's better than milk.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we learned anything today, don't milk your plants. There's a sound clip. Well, that wraps us up for this week.
I was just thinking of, you can milk your cat.
You can milk your spider plant?
Yeah.
Well, that does wrap us up for this week. If you're listening over on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, thanks so much for your support. Make sure that you're following so you don't miss out on future episodes. Give us a little like, send us a little comment. We'd love to hear from you. We're heading into February. We have a lot of cool content coming up. We have a special episode from the Calgary Home and Garden Show that we are really excited about.
That's going to be so much fun.
Little helpful gardeners on the road, right? It's going to be our first time. So join us for more fun next week.
Bye, everyone.